So yeah, that's another part of his legacy.
And just to think, shout out to George's mother. Uh, Single mother, unfortunately, worked, worked the little hands to the
Woman of
bone,
God.
but was able to build one of the greatest men that we've ever seen. George is one of those guys where he don't get enough credit. George didn't have a father. George didn't know the nuances. Some of us, and I don't want to take nothing away from Big BVO. Some of us are first time fathers. And when I say first time father, I'm not talking about where you just pay bills, you buy a couple outfits. I'm talking about where you're there for your children. And what George was able to do with his kids and be able to go back to boxing, make a bunch of money. One of my favorite things when George had that vest on, that white shirt, and them glasses was saying, "Hey, it's okay that I lost. It doesn't matter because when he lost at his older age to Evander Holyfield, he could have quit, but no, he went in there, and I don't know what the heck Moore was thinking to stand in front of George Foreman, and right there, history beat him to death, had him looking
Put
up
him in
at
the
the
pen.
stars, and that was that. But what you got on the CDK? Go ahead.
What's good? Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Man, definitely. Big George, 1968 Olympic gold medalist. You know what I'm saying, man? I was going back and just looking at some of the things and thinking about,
What year
Big
did he win
George.
the gold medal?
Yeah, he won the gold medal,
I said what year?
1968.
68. Okay.
Yeah,
And it's really before you go CDK, it's really interesting. You look at it: Muhammad Ali, gold medalist; Joe Frazier, gold medalist; George Foreman, gold medalist, and those were also the three best of that era. That's just something I like. I noticed. Good.
yeah, definitely, man. And thinking about George Foreman, he named every one of his kids after every one of his kids named George. Then also, just the man he was, he's also an ordained minister. So that tells you about his character. And man, one of my favorite fighters of all time, you know what I'm saying? He came through an era where all the greats fought each other. We ain't had to worry about, what I'm saying, nobody ducking nobody. It wasn't even that type of
Salute,
talk,
doggy.
you know what I'm saying? George
Appreciate
Foreman did his thing. He got in the ring. It didn't matter who it was. He was willing, and he beat
Big
Frazier at
dog.
a
Big
time.
dog. Salute.
He beat Frazier at a time when people felt like Frazier was unbeatable. You know what I'm saying? And made it look easy. So man, that's just some of my thoughts on George Foreman.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're talking about George, I think the thing we got to remember is that George was able to change. George was very angry about how kind of life God gave him. And George, like you said, he could have been better to his first wife. He wasn't. He made amends with her. He was able to, make amends with his children. And I think we got to really focus on the fact the man was able to be married and have all those beautiful children. And George Foreman had one thing that I'm gonna let everybody go because I get so excited when I talk about the history of boxing. George Foreman had a little thing he was doing one of his grandkids, and he was throwing a chair at a heavy bag, right? So George is old as Methuselah at this point. He's like 75, 74. And he tells his grandson, "Hey, throw the chair at that heavy bag." So it's his grandson throws the chair at the heavy bag, but he kind of holds back. Then he does it again, kind of holds back. George gets up, throws the chair hard as you can imagine. Chair goes against the brick wall, bounces off, and George sits on down and told his grandson, "Go get the chair, boy." And his grandson got the chair, and he told his grandson, "That's the difference between a puncher and a boxer. Whether I miss or I don't miss, I'm punching with everything I got. You're always gonna hold back." And that's what it is in life. George never held back. George always went full throttle. Bam! Whatever he had to do, he met the occasion. So salute to George, and like Mark said it best, man. His ring IQ because of the great Archie Moore was on another level. But I never thought about that. If you a puncher, you're not gonna hold back. But if you're a boxer, you will. So shout out to George on that free lesson, man. Go ahead. I don't know who wants to go up next. Go ahead.
Nah, I was just gonna say that point about his first wife. I mean, those women in the '70s were
Johnny
brutal.
Boy boxing salute, dog.
Yeah, those women in the '70s were brutal. They were basically hiding the kids from their fathers when they left. But Yeah, he learned from that situation. He became a better man for it. And yeah, it is what it is, man. Salute to George Foreman.
Puerto Rican Free, what you got for me?
Man, I mean George gave me a lot of great years of boxing. He came up in the era where the fighters that you wanted to see fight, they fought each other. He also gave me a lot of laughters when he did his reality show, even though it was for a short period of time. But that's when I noticed that all of his kids was named after him, and
Yeah,
it was real funny to see George do something other than boxing, and you got a chance to see a little bit of the real George Foreman in his reality show. But George Foreman was definitely one of the good ones in the sport of boxing. I mean, you get a lot of guys that pretty much ruin their own career, but George Foreman made the best situation out of the cards that he was dealt with, and he rose to the top. We saw a kid from a bad neighborhood in Houston, Texas, and rise to the top of the boxing industry and to the top of the marketplace as far as the George Foreman grill. So he's one of those testaments that is when you put your mind to it, you can do whatever you want to do.
definitely free. Uh, Let me add to that. I was thinking about what Ali said about George Foreman as far as the mummy and not having personality. And in the end, man, George Foreman had a great personality, and we got to see that. You know what I'm saying? We got to see a different person. All the commercials and stuff George Foreman done, everything he done, man. You wouldn't have think the guy from the '70s that we remember would turn out to be that George.
Most definite. Most definite.
Yep.
What else you got for us, BBO?
What
Give
you
me
said we
one
was going?
second. We still talking about George. Give me 1 second.
Okay,
He also gave us many classic fights, as we said earlier, like that Ron Lyle fight. I still
man, that
watch
was
that fight to this day.
yeah, that's one of the
Tell me
best
about that
heavyweight
Jimmy
fights
Young
ever.
fight real quick, Mark. That Jimmy Young fight.
Oh yeah, that Jimmy Young, that's another one of my favorite fights, but for different reasons. Not because of anything George did, but people were still looking at George as a destroyer. He still had that aura around him, even though he lost to Ali. Which that was a great fight in and of itself. But coming into that Jimmy Young fight, people didn't really know what to expect from Jimmy. They knew he was a great boxer, but they didn't expect him to really outclass Foreman and put hands on him the way he did, bro. Like Jimmy Young was really making Foreman look silly. He was beating the hell out of him. He was slapping him. He was running him into rights. And when Foreman did land, bro, like that sixth round, that's just one of my favorite rounds to watch because that's when you show you a dog to me. It's not just when you fighting back. It's when you get hurt and you got a dude like George Foreman or Sonny Liston on top of you, and you got to find a way to survive for the next 3 minutes. So yeah, that's one of my favorite fights. George Foreman, he got a lot of classics, got a lot of rewatch value.
Definitely.
Yeah, all
Yes,
BBO.
them
sir.
fighters from that age of heroes, like I said, from the '70s. We could talk about Jimmy Young in and of himself because he got a tragic story too.
Yeah, yeah. BBO, you said we was gonna touch on something else. I don't know if you wanted to go ahead and start talking about it.
Yeah,
You there?
nah, BBL left out.
BBL dropped off. He doing so. He dropped off.
He definitely dropped
Uh,
off for a second.
Did Terrell Goucher win last night? I didn't
who?
see the decision. Terrell
Who?
Goucher.
No, he lost. He got cheated.
What?
He got cheated. They robbed him.
Yeah, they robbed him.
Bruh.
He got robbed. I mean, man, I'm talking about no mask, no nothing robbed.
Yeah. He got
Wow.
robbed. He and I didn't expect him to do that. I thought Elijah Garcia was going to outbox him, but I think he dropped Elijah Garcia in the first round, and
He
then
Made
did.
him do a backflip.
he commenced to whooping Elijah Garcia the entire fight. I think the only round that he didn't really put any hands on Elijah Garcia was the last round.
Yep,
But
that's it.
other than that, he put a whooping on Elijah Garcia. And what I noticed in that fight is, and I noticed it in another fight, but I thought Elijah Garcia might have just had a bad fight. But now you got a couple of fights to go by. Elijah Garcia has a problem with boxers. If you can box, Elijah Garcia has a problem. He likes the fighters that stand right in front of him or they're one dimensional. But if you're a fighter that can actually move around and ring and box and have a good jab, you're going to give Elijah Garcia a lot of problems. And that's what happened last
Yeah,
night.
yeah. And Free, what did you think about Xander last night trying to get the face off with Fundora, and they basically, I guess the sister told him don't do it.
Um, well, one or two things. One or two things that I got from it that they might they might want to try to set Sebastian Fendora up in another big fight. And the other thing is um I don't know if they want Xander to get that shot. Because Xander is number one in the WBO and he's number two in the WBC. We know Bud
Yeah,
Crawford is about to relinquish his belts at 54 if he hasn't already done it. So he was the quote unquote the interim title holder for the WBO. So that means that the next person in line to fight Fendora from the WBO side is Xander. I think Xander want the smoke. I think Xander will be a good fight. I don't know who wins that fight. I will be rooting for Xander because Xander is my guy. He was one of the top prospects that I've always liked. But I think Xander would give Sebastian Fedor a tough outing because Xander is one of those guys that likes to move around. He got decent hand speed, he got decent footwork, and he got power. So I think he'll give
yeah,
Sebastian Fedor some problems. I don't know if Sebastian Fedor will have. I mean, I know that he wouldn't have an easy fight like he did last night against Xander. It's not going to be
Yeah,
that easy against Xander.
yeah.
you know what, Free,
Xander's
I
the.
think that
I'm
people
looking at
don't
it right
really
now.
dwell on.
Xander's. Go ahead,
Go
CDK.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
He's number one. He's ranked number one because he said last night that Fundora gonna have to get a title up if he don't get the shot next. That's what he said.
No,
Well, if
I
that's the
mean,
case, then
I
I wouldn't
believe he's
mind
number
seeing
ranked
that
number
fight because I'm
one.
looking at it right now.
yeah, no,
He
no, he's
is.
ranked number one.
Yeah, he's ranked number one. Bud is gonna give up that interim title, so it's really no roadblocks for him. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I've been saying it for a minute. I think it's time. I want to see Xander in there with somebody real. I want to see him tested. Fondora, man, Fondora. Just looking at him last night, like I saw him working that jab. He was working it in that Tim Zoo fight. He's just one of those guys. I look at him and his physical tools, and I say to myself, bro, if he could ever put it all together, he really would be the best at 54 and probably 60. But
Yeah,
you still see
Yeah,
some of those
definitely.
tendencies where even where he likes to let guys get close and he gets hit with uppercuts. Cordell was hitting him with some straight rights last night, and
I think you
I
going
just
in and
can't
out.
forget that I can't forget that Mendoza fight because he's still open. I think he's still open for a right hand like that to just sweep
I
yeah,
don't know
across his
what's going
chin.
on with that.
But I
yeah,
still would I'd pick him to beat Xander. I'd pick him
yeah.
in that fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Which,
mean, I
hey,
know, I
I
know,
think
I
that
know.
people are sleeping. The thing with Fundora is this. I believe the problem is he could put it all together, but I hate to say it, but his eyesight plays a lot in the way he fights,
Man,
and I've been paying
CDK.
attention to that.
If he
Yeah,
could
Yeah,
ever put it all together, it's nowhere for his opponent to rest
yeah.
or hide
no, it
from
ain't.
him. You can't move the
No, it
long
ain't.
range. That jab is just gonna win him the round.
The, the one,
Okay?
the one,
He could just
the
sit
one.
back on that. If you come inside, he's gonna beat you to death by 1,000 uppercuts.
The one problem that I did see with Fedora, and I want to touch on what CDK said that Xander had responded to. The one thing that I saw from Fandora is he doesn't know how to cut the ring off. I don't
Okay.
care
Yeah.
how tall you are. You follow a guy, you're gonna follow right into a shot. So
Yep.
he has to learn how to cut the ring off. And with a guy like Xander, you just following behind him, you're gonna run right into a shot following behind Xander. But
Yeah.
what Xander has said that he's gonna get the fight next or he's gonna have to drop the belt, that's not necessarily true. That's
Right.
only true. It's only true if they mandate the fight. They haven't mandated the fight,
Uh,
so he wants to fight next. But until they mandate the fight next, he's not the next person that Fandora
well,
has to fight.
that's
I
Bob's
agree with
belt.
you.
That's the WBO. They're probably gonna mandate it. Maybe in the next month or a couple of weeks. So,
No, because
yeah,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't be
because
shocked.
I mean, I don't know. I think I'm not sure if Frendora is the WBO super. If he is the WBO super, they only mandate fights for the WBO super every 18 months. So it
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah.
been 18 months since he won the title. So I don't know if he's the super or not. But even if he's not the super, the WBO I don't. I'm not sure when was the last time they had a mandated fight, but it all depends on when they decide to mandate their fights because he has two titles, and I believe the WBC is up for the mandatory first before the WBO.
You right. You exactly right on that.
I wouldn't mind seeing for. I want to see Fondora in there with Bakram. That's the fight I really want to see.
And
Respect
I'm
to
telling
Xander.
you.
I think
Fandor said
Xander.
he said he
I
will. He
think
said it. That was one of the names that he said he will fight. He said he wanted to fight him and he
yeah.
will fight Spence. He said those two
Yeah.
names.
Yeah, that's to me. That's all out war. I think Fedora he really gonna have to pull out all the stops. He gonna have to show that he could box in that fight. Cause Bakram, I did not expect him to put hands and feet on Tim Tszyu the way he did. He
Yeah. He
had
looked
Tim Tszyu
good.
stumbling.
Phenomenal.
He had Tim Tszyu complaining to the ref like, "Why you didn't stop the damn fight?" That was crazy.
Man. Hey.
The
Like I
thing
said,
about Backstrom,
free.
yeah.
Free. Let me ask you this. I wanted to ask both of y'all this because do you think part of his reason having problems cutting off the ring, and I paid attention to his jab. His jab is like a rangefinder. And I'm thinking that he tried, if he
He's
had better
probing.
eyesight, do you believe he would be able to, that jab would be better if he had better eyesight?
Um, I'm not sure if the jab will be better because if you look how he throws it, it's not it's not really a stiff jab.
Right.
Um, and even with bad eyesight, I mean his eyesight ain't that bad to where he can't see. It might be hard for him to see. But I don't know how good his jab would be if his eyesight was better. But the problem that I see with him cutting the ring off is he doesn't have great foot movement. His foot
Yeah.
movement is not good, and so that's one of the reasons why he doesn't cut the ring off. Um, even with the Brian Mendoza fight, he didn't try to cut the ring off, and he got caught with a shot because he was just following Brian Mendoza around.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying. You follow people around, you're gonna get caught with something. Especially when you fight the top level of fighters, because the fight that I saw Frendor had last night, if he was in there with Baltram, I think Frendor would have been on the mat a couple of times because he got hit with some clean shots over top.
Yes, he
And
did.
it's just that Booker doesn't have power. Booker only had 11 knockouts and I think like 24 or 25 fights.
That's
So he
it.
doesn't have he don't have power like that. But if he was in there with somebody like Bartram or someone like even Bud Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, those shots that he took clean, he probably will be getting up off the canvas.
I agree. And let me ask y'all this: what's next for Booker? Was that his last chance at a world title?
I would think so. I mean, in this
For who?
current for
Booker.
Booker, yeah, in this
Oh,
I would think so. In this current 154 class where you got guys like Xander and Virgil coming behind, you got Boychuk, he's number one in the WBA. Um or excuse me, number one in the WBC. So yeah, and not only that, I just don't think that'd be good for his health. I mean, the way how he got pummeled last night, like I saw some people saying that that might have been an early stoppage. I don't know what the hell they were talking about. That was a great stoppage by that referee. Like, geez, he
I
got
think
beat. Oof.
I think I think I think it will be um his last time for a title shot for a while. I don't think it will be for the rest of his career. I think for a while because you wanna you wanna go back to the drawing board and fix some things because
Yeah.
he had a lot of holes, and it was things that he could have did that he didn't do, and I think it was because of the size of Fedor, and he was trying to figure out how can I get to him instead of just doing what you came to do because Fedor never blocked his body. The body shots was there. He never blocked any body shot. Now he was trying to jab at the body, but the way he was doing it, he was leaving himself in range to get hit coming down because he would just jab and dip his head down. But you dipping your head down, you ain't moving your head off the line. The way you get to a guy that's much taller and rangy like that, you give them angles. You make them have to reset. If he would
Yeah.
have stepped to the right, hit him, and then step to the left, hit him again. Those shots are open because Fedor is walking straight because he doesn't have good footwork. He got long reach, so he doesn't really have to move as much. But if you make him turn left and right, now you have an advantage because now he got to guess which way you going. So you got to give him different angles. You can't just go straight and throw a shot straight in because he got the longest reach. You going under, all he doing is coming straight down, throwing a shot right down at you.
I wonder, free. You now you talking about body, son. You brought up. You made a great point about going to the body. Earl Spence and a prime Earl Spence would have been. That would have been. I would have loved to see Fundora in a prime Earl Spence because we know Earl Spence loved going to the body.
Now, a prime Earl Spence gives Fedor lots of problems. He gives him lots of problems because a prime Earl Spence, he throws roughly 70 punches per round, and he
Yep.
throws a lot of body shots. So, and Earl Spence can punch. So, a prime Earl Spence gives Fedor a lot of problems. Now, the Earl Spence that we see now, we don't know what we're going to have because he hasn't been in the ring almost 2 years now,
Right.
and it it's like he hasn't had a tune up. So we don't know what we're going to get from Earl Spence. So I don't know how Earl Spence will be right now fighting for Fedor. He could pull it out. We could see the old Earl Spence, or we could see the Earl Spence that we saw with Bud Crawford. I don't know because we never know until they get in the ring because it is what it is.
Man,
But
Yeah.
I think Earl Spence at this point would get beat to death by Fondora.
Me
Like,
too.
geez,
And I
like
hate to say it.
I don't want to, like, respectfully, like Earl. And I said it the other day on the right side stream. He needs to close shop. He needs to retire. He needs to go open a little smoke shop, sell some edibles, sell some flowers, open a shop in Dallas, open one in Houston, then go nationwide. That should be his plan. Sell some shrooms like Mike Tyson. That's a
he
big
don't need to
time
open
industry.
up.
But
He
right
don't need to
now,
open
hold
up no
on,
daggone
Hold
shop.
on, Defrilio. Hold on. But right
No, you
now, I
hold
don't want
on.
to
You
see.
talking about some
I don't
daggone
want to
shop?
see Earl Spence back in the ring. I don't want to see
Wha-
the man get beat to death. I don't want to see him get hurt. The man
I
already
mean,
got having surgery for cataracts in his eyes. He already lost his entire he's wearing dentures. He's only 34 years old. Come on now. I don't need to
no,
see this man get beat to death
I'm
anymore.
not talking about him getting back in the ring. You talking about him open up a daggone weed shop? He don't need to open up no daggone weed shop. Only
I'm
people
saying
like
if
you
he
think.
need bread,
No,
why he need
no.
to get back in the ring?
If he needs bread, he doesn't need to open up a weed shop. There's a lot of things he can do. There's
Okay,
a lot of
fine,
things. That
fine, Defrey. It was just a
you only
suggestion on
thinking
my
about
part.
you only thinking about weed because you high right now. Ain't nobody need to open up no daggone weed shop.
We say hi right
Firstly,
now.
firstly, firstly, that's your opinion.
But
Secondly, it was just a suggestion on my part. Go ahead.
yeah, because you
The
high right
BBO
now.
probably. Yeah, hey,
You
hey, free. I'm sorry.
you high right now.
DVO probably gonna say he need to open up a bodega.
No, I mean,
He is from New York.
Earl Spence can do. I mean, he could do whatever he want to do. I'm not going to tell that man what he needs to do because I don't
You
know
don't
what
need to
type of
fight,
I don't know
DeFrilio.
what type of individual he is. So I can't tell him what he needs to do.
Right.
I mean, I can give my suggestions of what he should do, but I can't tell that man what he needs to do because, like I said, I don't know what type of individual he is. I don't know that man personally. I don't know if he's a good businessman. I don't know. I mean, he has
Uh,
he
i-
has Frank Martin. He could be a promoter. He can go and get some more fighters and promote those guys. He doesn't need to open up a weed shop.
is him and
He's
Derrick
already a
James back
promoter.
on good terms?
I don't know about that.
I
I,
I, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care. It
yeah.
don't matter to me.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's a question to be asked if he's coming back to the ring.
Yeah, I don't know
No, it's
about
not
that.
because he's not working with Derrick James. He's working with somebody else.
Yeah, they not
He's not
together
working with Derrick
anymore.
James. Yeah.
That's terrible.
He's already got a trainer. He's been training with this guy since the whole Bud Crawford situation. He's been working out. Well, not gonna say since the Bud Crawford. He got with him shortly after that, and they've been working together. So he's not coming back with Derrick James. So that one you
I
can
hope he
you can
don't come
forget
back
about it.
at all.
Do
I,
you
I don't
think
know if
that
he's coming back or not.
Free? Let me ask you this, because I like asking you questions like this. I know you're gonna give a real answer. Both of y'all. Do y'all really feel like Derrick James? And I'm only asking this. I don't think this, but this is a question. Somebody asked me. He's overrated. Do y'all feel like he was overrated?
No, I mean I can't say that Derrick James is overrated because he had a couple of fighters take a loss. I mean,
Right.
every trainer has a fighter to take a loss. How many losses do those fighters have? They they all only have one loss under Derrick James. So
Right.
I mean, you got Bomac. He had quite a few guys take losses. You have Freddie Roach. He had guys that take losses. You have
Robert
Buddy
Garcia.
McGurk, Robert Garcia, Emmanuel Stewart, the
Eddie
the
Reynoso.
legendary, yeah, Eddie Reynoso, the legendary trainers, all of those guys have fighters that take losses. So you can't say that a trainer is overrated if he led his fighters to be undefeated for a long period of time. He led them to be champions. You
Cut that
can't
down.
say that he's overrated. So then, I mean, Earl Spence won 3 titles. Earl Spence was undefeated up until he fought Bud Crawford. He just fought a guy
Right.
that was better than him that night. So no, I don't think that he's overrated.
Yeah, I agree with you
I
one
think
hundred
I think
percent.
I think a lot of people say overrated and they don't understand what overrated means. They just use that term because it sounds good. They don't know what it means. Overrated means you have to rate them at a certain level and they don't meet your expectation.
Right.
Can you say that Derek James didn't meet your expectation? He had an undisputed fighter under his stable that he got to undisputed. It wasn't like he came in and he had 3 belts already and he just got one more belt. No, he got that man all 4 of his belts and became undisputed. He had another fighter who became a 3 belt unified champion. That's not an underrated trainer. That's not
Yeah,
an
I agree with you
underrated
one
trainer.
hundred percent. Marky Dan said Earl Spence definitely wasn't top five pound for pound.
He was top 5 pound for pound. The same way Canelo was top 5 pound for pound before he got beat. Just because you got beat doesn't mean that you wasn't a pound for pound fighter. It just means you fought somebody that was able to beat you. So because Canelo got beat, that means he was never a top 5 pound for pound? No, it doesn't. Because Earl got beat, that doesn't mean that he was never a top 5 pound for pound. Manny Pacquiao took 7 losses. That doesn't mean he wasn't a top 5 pound for pound. Just
Yeah, I
because you
think
get beat, you just get beat. Y'all don't really look at boxing the way you're supposed to look at boxing. Y'all
I
look at
agree with
boxing as fans of a fighter, and you oh he lost, so he ain't that good. No, he lost to a guy who was considered the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world.
Right.
If a person is the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, and you got another guy that's in the top five pound for pound, the number one guy is supposed to beat him because he's ranked number one. He's supposed to beat him.
I agree.
That's what's supposed to happen. He's the number one guy. Now, what you could say is, if Earl Spence would have beat Bud Crawford, you could say Bud Crawford was never the number one pound for pound. That's what you could
Yeah.
say. But Earl Spence didn't lose to a guy that wasn't ranked in a pound for pound. He lost to the guy who was considered the number one pound for pound. So he was supposed to lose that fight.
Yeah, you're right
Technically
about that.
speaking,
Market Dan said the layoffs on top of the death beating and only one weight class travel. What did they take him out of the top five in my opinion?
no, he's not a top five now, but that doesn't mean he was never a top five. You
He
said
definitely was
you
before.
said he wasn't a top five pound for pound. That means you saying he was never a top five pound for pound. No, he's not now, but that
Yeah, he
doesn't
not
mean
now.
he was never a top five pound for pound.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm looking at then Sheldon said, man, Mr. Sheldon said Earl Spence Jr. was a very good fighter against the guys he fought. He never
Mhm.
fought anyone who could prepare him for Crawford, and I definitely kind of agree with that. I definitely
Yeah.
agree with that. I still feel like I hate saying it, but I still feel like we didn't see the best of Earl Spence. I don't make no excuses for him. Bud is Bud. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
that definitely I definitely agree with that.
And see and that's the problem when you say things like Marky Dan said, you kind of take away from the victory of Bud Crawford. No,
Yeah,
Earl Spence was the top five pound for pound. Bud Crawford was considered the number one pound for pound. Bud Crawford beat him. He beat him. He beat
Market Dan.
a top five pound for pound fighter. You can't take away
Yeah,
that man was top five pound for pound because he lost to Bud. No, Bud was considered number one. Earl was considered top five. Bud beat a top five pound for pound. So if you say Bud was never a top five pound for pound, then you saying Bud ain't never beat a top five pound for pound fighter. No, you can't
hey,
take away the credit from what Bud did.
y'all know me. I like reading the comments. Rodney Evans, aka Hot Rod, said Earl Spence was never a top 10 pound for pound. Stop lying to yourself. Don't have no top 10 pound for pound skill set or anything. Just a flat footed, come forward fighter.
No, he was never top 10 in your opinion. That's your top 10 pound for pound. Top pound for pound is all based on subjection. Whatever opinion that I have for a fighter is my opinion that I have for a fighter. Whatever
Right.
opinion you have for a fighter is your opinion you have for a fighter. There's a lot of people that believe that Earl Spence was a top five pound for pound at the time that he was going to fight Bud Crawford. So your
Definitely.
opinion that he wasn't, that's your opinion. I'm not gonna argue with it. That's how you
Yeah,
see the fighter.
definitely.
But a lot of other people believe that he was.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I read, like I said, Rodney, I hadn't even gave no statement really on it yet. I've been letting free go. But in my humble opinion, everybody got an opinion, and you got yours. I felt like there was a time where Earl Spence was one of the best fighters in the world. Whether he's flat footed, come forward or not, that style work. You know what I'm saying? And he brings more to the table than just that if you're paying attention. Earl Spence done a lot of great things in the ring. But I can understand why people say that. You know what I'm saying? I think people are prisoners of the moment too, looking at what Bud was able to do to him. That weighs heavy on people.
Yeah. Like I said, when you say things like that, you just diminish the victory of Bud Crawford. I want to give Bud Crawford all of the credit that deserved to him. He went in there, he
Definitely.
beat Bud Crawford, and I mean he beat Earl Spence, and at that time Earl Spence was considered top five pound for pound. Bud Crawford beat a top five pound for pound fighter. You saying that he wasn't top five pound for pound? What credit are you giving Bud? He just went in there and
Right.
beat a regular fighter.
I agree.
That's basically what you're saying. He just went in there and beat a regular fighter. I want to give Bud all of the credit that's due to him.
Well, we got to remember this, man. The way Bud beat him, and then
Oh
we look
man.
at how bad Tank looked in his fight. As
Man,
bad as Tank looked in his fight, I gotta just say that maybe PBC did a good job of promoting Errol like they did with Tank. And I'm an Errol friend, but
me
Errol
too.
did never fight. Errol never fought Keith Thurman. Maybe that's why. Maybe
No,
Keith
I
Thurman
mean,
would have did him
Yeah,
dirty
Nah,
like that.
nah,
no,
I ain't gonna
but
say that,
respectfully.
BBL.
Hey, hey,
But
no,
I,
hey!
Keith Thurman
Respectfully,
never fought
let me just
Earl.
defend some of the things I've been saying. In my opinion, like I said, in my opinion, I didn't have Earl in my top five before the Bud fight,
I
and that's
respect it.
because he had. Hold on, and that's because, like I said, there was a lot of layoffs. There was a lot of time in between there. You had other guys that were coming up, like in Nui and Usyk. Canelo was well, excuse me, not Canelo. Bivol. Well, no. Excuse me, not even Bivol. I gotta look back. I had a pound for pound list I put on KO Boxing. I posted. I'm gonna go back and get it. But I didn't have Earl in my top five. That's all I'm saying. I do acknowledge though that at the time the boxing world considered him to be top five.
Right.
But
That's all I'm
and
saying.
another thing, even though I didn't have him in my top five, I picked him to win the fight. So still, I'm
That's
not
all I'm saying.
taking
I'm
really
not.
anything away from him. I'm just saying that was my
Hey,
opinion at the time.
I picked Earl to win the fight too. That's why I said I want to give Bud all of the credit that's deserved to him. I don't want to take away his credit. So if I say, oh, you know what? Now that I look at it, Earl Spence really wasn't a top five pound for pound. That's taking away credit from Bud. No, I picked Earl to beat Bud. Bud went in there and he stopped Earl. And I want to give him all the credit that's due to him. He went in there, he beat a guy that a lot of people consider top five pound for pound on ESPN, who's not associated with PBC at all. They consider him top five pound for pound. A lot of other platforms and these top what was it, Ring Magazine and a couple of these other sources that do they pound for pound, they consider Earl Spence top five. I want to give him credit where credit is due. He beat a top
BBO.
five pound for pound.
I don't know if you're paying attention to the comments, BBO. They saying drop the link.
Yeah, I got y'all. We got 10 minutes left, so our last
Okay.
5 minutes we'll let y'all come up and talk and spit your game. But to be honest with you, man, like I said, Earl, and I'm an Earl fan. He wasn't that guy. I mean,
Me too.
I don't know what more you want me to say, Hot Rock. He wasn't that guy. So
Yeah, Bud
He was
Crawford was better
listen,
than him. I mean,
Bud.
you
At the
know,
end of the day, Bud
and
Crawford
Bud
was
and
better.
Bud went in there and took his time. Bud didn't even he didn't even have to rush his work. Bud literally
Nah,
went in
Bud
there and
carried him. Bud
make
carried him,
he did.
BBO.
Bud went in there, made him a glass of Kool-Aid, ate the rest of Earl's wings from the night before. Then he came back and beat him to death. I mean,
yeah.
that's that's one of the worst beatings I've seen ever at that level.
Yeah.
Ever for a guy to be considered top whatever to get beat to death in that manner. I mean,
It just really like I even went
Bud
back and
almost
looked at
beat
it.
Bud almost beat him dead. It was pretty bad. So
I mean,
I even
it's
went back and looked at it, BVO. I went back and looked at the Fulton and Inoue fight. Fulton at least managed to put up a fight. He at least managed to do something in there that frustrated Inoue at times. There wasn't nothing Earl could do. Earl
No.
just
no.
stood
It's
there and
almost.
took an ass whooping.
I'm gonna give you
And if he
another
came forward
example.
and tried to do something, he just took more punishment. It was
I'm gonna give
vicious.
you another example. We were just talking about the big George Foreman. George Foreman went in there and beat George Fraser like he stole something. But do
Yep.
we say Joe Fraser
Jesus.
wasn't a great fighter? No, he was. He just wasn't on George Foreman's level. He just wasn't on
Yeah.
his level.
well, who did Earl beat though? That's the thing. When
Yeah,
you think
that's what I
about
was
it,
about to say.
who
Frazier
did
No,
beat
Earl beat?
Ali.
no, he
I mean,
beat
he beat
everybody.
Danny
Y'all,
Garcia, who was a
hold
140 pounder.
hold
He
up. You
No,
beat
can't
we're
say,
not gonna hold
a
on,
hold
nobody
up,
for a
hold
second. We're
up,
not
Ugas.
gonna do
hold
that,
up.
BBO. 'Cause Danny
Hold
Garcia
up,
was
We
BBO.
discussing.
You cannot say who did Earl beat because the whole argument was Earl had a better resume than Bud Crawford. You can't turn around
I'm
now
finna
and
say
say
that.
And that's turned
who
into
did
some
Earl beat.
bullshit.
I don't
No.
think he did now.
He
Go
beat
ahead.
Kell Brook.
He
All
beat
right, I'm done.
Ugas, who
He
I'm
then
beat
out.
probably
Sean
I'm
got
out.
Porter.
beat
He
to
beat you
death
guys.
by Barrios.
I'm out. I'm out. Y'all tripping. Y'all just
No, we not tripping.
change like
I'm
No,
y'all.
agreeing with you.
we just talking.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
no,
not tripping.
y'all niggas changing like y'all change draws. No,
Hey,
y'all
no,
upset.
free.
Y'all
I
upset.
just said who we beat.
Why?
I ain't talking about you, CDK. I ain't talking about. They know who
Okay.
I'm talking about. They know
He,
who I'm talking about.
Oh
They up
no,
here
we
changing
changing.
like they change draws because you can't say that Bud Crawford had a worse resume than Earl Spence and then turn around and say, "Oh, who did Earl Spence fight?" No, what argument was you having before that? Y'all sound stupid. Stand on your word. Stand on your word.
I was wrong, Free.
Y'all want to?
That's the thing.
No.
We was wrong.
Yeah.
The man Earl Spence fought good fighters. He just was not better than Bud. That's
That's
all it
it.
is. What's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with saying that?
There's
He
nothing
fought
wrong
good
with that.
fighters.
I'm not saying that. All I
He
said
just
was
wasn't
I
better
didn't
than
have him in
Bud.
my top 5.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about when it comes to the resume. No, the man fought good fighters. He just wasn't better than Bud. That's all it is. You
Plain
ain't
and
got to
simple.
switch up. You ain't got to switch up. You can still stand on what you said. The man fought good fighters. He just wasn't better than Bud. Y'all
That's
niggas
it.
be tripping. Y'all be tripping.
No problem with that. He was a good fighter. He just wasn't better than Bud. I don't think I'm not saying that. I just said that he wasn't a top 5 on pound for pound fighter.
No,
And
I'm talking about when y'all talking about the
BVO,
resume. Y'all saying who did he fight?
BVO wanted to bring up the resume, and it's questionable in my opinion. If we want to talk about is he a top 5 pound for pound, we just
Well, let
talking
me ask you
about
a
his
question.
skill
Let me ask you a
set.
question, then, Mark. You said
Yeah, go ahead.
his resume is questionable. How do you feel about? And I'm just asking, how do you feel about Bud's resume up until that point before they fought?
I didn't think Bud's resume was too impressive itself.
Okay, that's all I want to know. I'm just asking. And like
You
Sheldon
saying
said,
none of the
resumes don't
guys
win
that fought.
fights. I agree with that 100%, Sheldon. Resumes do not win fights, but they were bringing up the resume situation. BBO brought the resume up, so that's why.
Nah, if
So
we talking about
basically
at
what you saying is
147, if we talking about at 100 at 147 pounds, and we having a discussion about who's gonna win, then absolutely not. Like you can't. It's not even a discussion who has a better resume. It was Earl
Yeah,
no.
Spence because he
This is
had
what I
all
want
the
to say.
Salute,
belts
salute
on
the
his
tank,
definitely.
Jay.
side.
Closing up. Appreciate you.
This is what I want to say. Y'all said he didn't fight anybody good. The man fought everybody at 147 there was to fight except for Keith Thurman
I agree.
and Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao, he had to pull out because he had the torn eye retina. But he fought everybody there was to fight at 47 except for 2 guys. But now y'all saying he didn't
Yeah,
fight anybody?
Yeah,
Y'all
I
I
don't
niggas
agree
didn't
with
tripping.
say
that.
that. He went to
I ain't.
Y'all tripping.
Kell
That's the
Brook's
only.
backyard.
This is the only problem I have with D Free, and that's my brother, and I got love for him.
Yes,
I've
sir.
been telling D Free since the day I met him. I don't care who you fought last week, last month, last year, 2
No.
days ago. None of that shit matters. Can you beat that dude? I have been
No,
watching boxing since the late
I have
60s, and I have
I have
yet
no
to see a resume climb through the ropes and win a fight. It doesn't
no
matter
Hey,
who you
Sheldon.
fought. Can
Sheldon,
you
you
beat
right.
him?
Hey,
Sheldon,
Sheldon, you
you're
right.
missing you're missing an argument, Sheldon. No,
Yeah,
they're turning around saying now that Earl Spence didn't fight anybody, but
right.
that wasn't the argument before he fought Bud. The argument was Bud's resume didn't match up to Earl's resume. They said Bud had to
Yeah,
work
that's
Right.
what
harder.
the argument. You're
Now
right.
they
That
trying
was
to
the
now
argument.
they changing up and saying that Earl didn't fight anybody. You can't
Which that's
change
not
up. You
true.
stand on.
I
That's
didn't
not
say that.
true.
Bud was just better. You can still give credit where credit is due. Earl Spence fought a lot of good guys at 47.
Yes,
He
he did.
just
He fought
wasn't
the guys
better
that
than
was
Bud.
there. He fought all the guys that was there that had the belts, and he
Exactly.
took the belts. You can't take that
Yep.
away
Exactly.
from him.
Can't take it
Exactly. That's
from
all
him.
I'm saying. The man fought a lot of good guys. He just wasn't better than Bud. That's
That's
all it
it.
Well,
is.
that makes sense. So basically, what you're saying is Earl is this generation's Iran Barkley, good but not good enough. I got you.
I mean, whatever you want to look at it, however you want to look at it, he wasn't better than Bud. That's all it is to it. He wasn't better than
Yeah.
Bud.
And,
You
and,
can't
and the other
diminish the
question
man's
is,
whole career because he lost one fight. You want to diminish his whole career? No, the
No,
man
you
fought
can't
a
do
lot of
that.
he
good
We can't
wasn't
fighters.
do
better
that.
than Bud at 47. But let me ask you this question: who was?
Right.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna say the
I
same
mean,
thing, Sheldon.
nobody was. I mean, because he never lost at 47. Nobody was. He didn't lose at 47. And
He ain't
Bud
lose the
fought
35. He ain't lose
everybody.
the 35.
He fought everybody that was to fight except for 2 guys at 47. The same way Earl did. Earl fought everybody there was to fight except for 2 guys. Bud fought everybody there was to fight except for 2 guys. And it's the same 2 guys, Keith Thurman and Manny Pacquiao. The same
Well,
2 guys.
hey, free. Bud
Hey
didn't
yo,
fight Danny either, though. He didn't fight Danny.
Oh yeah, he didn't fight Danny. But at that time, Danny,
But
after
Danny
he got
ducked
beat
him
up,
already. Danny ducked him
no,
already at
No, I know. I'm
140.
just saying he didn't fight him. BB, I'm just
but
saying.
at that time when Danny got beat by Earl, Danny had went into retirement and he didn't fight for a long time. He came back
Right.
at 54. So
And he don't
I
need to.
mean,
He don't need to fight no more.
yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, y'all can't diminish a man's whole career. Like I said, you would have to diminish daggone Joe Frazier's whole career because the way he got beat up by George Foreman.
Yeah.
You would have to
Right.
diminish his whole career. No, the man fought good guys. He just wasn't better than Bud. The Joe Frazier fought good guys. He just wasn't better than George Foreman. It's the same thing. The same thing. He just wasn't better.
We got
There's
off into
nothing
that
wrong.
BBO.
Yeah.
You know, we were supposed to talk about. We were supposed to talk about what's his name, but we'll get to it another time. We,
Yeah.
we were supposed to talk about Brick Baby, Loose Cannon, and all them tonight. We were supposed to throw that in there.
I mean, we tried to at the beginning, but I don't really
But
care about those
shout out
people,
to
to be
Big
honest.
Eugene, man, and I feel bad he stole all that money for them poor kids in LA, man. On that
Yeah.
note,
It's a special place for him in hell.
Yeah,
Sports Talk Network, and we going, y'all. Peace.
we out.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching BVO. And if you're down with BVO, subscribe and